Let's give the user a possibility to create a post. So we're going to be creating a new feature, and this feature is going to be create post test. So head over to our test feature directory, and sure enough, we have the create post test right there. Clean up the boilerplate, create a function, public function, test can create posts. Okay. Now, how do we test that a user can create a post? First of all, our arrange step is not really going to have a lot to do, but we're going to have an action step and our assert step, obviously. Now, our action step, we're going to be making a post request to our application, to a particular endpoint with some data, and we're going to assert that the database has this data, or we're going to be asserting that that post actually exists that contains that data. Okay, so first of all, we need to make a post request, right? So response equals this post to an endpoint. So let's just say it goes to the store post endpoint, and then we're going to pass in as data for our request. We're going to pass in a title, which is going to be new post title, and we're going to pass in a body also, which is going to be new post body. Okay, so how do we assert that the database contains something? We simply call this assert database has, which is a very useful method that Laravel provides for us. So for us to see this method, let's just head over to interacts with database, which is in our foundation testing concerns directory, and we can see the assert database has method right there. Takes in the table we're trying to check, takes in the array of data we're trying to check that exists in that table, and then it returns true or false depending on what the result of that check is. So right here, we're going to be checking into our post table, and we're going to be passing exactly the same array that we passed in right here. So we are making sure that this data actually exists in the database. Okay, now this test might be enough, but then there's another extra step that we can go, right? So what we can do is find the first post in our database with ID of 1, because remember, our database is going to be cleaned, and this is going to be the very first post that is created for this test. And then we're going to assert equals new post title right here should be equal to the post title that we got. Obviously, this is supposed to be equal to. And then we're also going to assert that the body is also equal. Okay, so new post body should be equals to the post body. Awesome. So we have a number of assertions, just a little bit of security for our database to make sure that this test is actually doing what we want it to do. Okay, so let's run this test. I'll create a group, and this is just going to be create post group. Let's run that test, and it's going to give us a nasty error saying we should use this database migration straight. So let's just use it. Awesome. Let's run the test and pass in the group create post, and we have failed asserting that a row in the table matches the attributes this and this. The table is empty. We're making a request to that endpoint, and we've not done anything to assert that it contains that data. Now, why are we not receiving a more helpful method to tell us that this does not exist? Because in our handler, we need to just temporarily throw the exception so we can have useful data. Now we have a not found HTTP exception. Better. So let's head over to our web.php and create that exception. So I'm just going to say route get, and this is just going to be to the /store post route, just like we defined right here. And also we need to decide what controller we're going to be using for this, right? So I'm just going to stick with the post controller for now, and I'm just going to say use the store post method. Awesome. Let's run our test again. Here we still have another method not allowed exception. That's my fault, because this is supposed to be a post request. Sorry about that. Let's run again. We have this error saying the method store post does not exist. Let's head over to our post controller and create that method. Run our test again, and now we have failed asserting that it contains that data in the database. So what do we need to do? We just need to create the data, right? So we're just gonna say post equals post create, and we'll pass in a title, which is the request title, and we can get the request from the request method that Laravel provides, and we'll get title, and we'll have body, which is gonna be request get the body. Save, run our test again, and then class test feature post not found. Let's check out our test, And it means this passed, and then it reached this point where we have to find the post, and then it didn't find. So let's use app post, run a test one final time, and sure enough, we have a successful test. So we are now able to create tests in our database. But are we going to let any user create a post in our application? We'll take care of that in the next episode.